It is only 10:20 p.m.
Hello, and welcome to this wonderful panel discussion with four lovely women from around the world, very different areas. We were just discussing the different locations that everybody's coming in from. Um, I'd just like to say that this event today is a series of six panel discussions where women from around the world that are making their mark in the field of AI are going to be able to share their different perspectives in a number of different topic areas. This panel discussion in particular is focused on function, the pursuit of meaning and quality. And with that, I'd like to do a brief introduction of the speakers. If you have any questions or comments, you're more than welcome to ask them throughout the session, and we'll bring them up as we have time. So Anne Clark is an AI ontologist at Nearmap. She has over a decade of experience in designing, testing, and implementing practical metadata and knowledge management solutions within the energy and commercial data sectors. She has a background in library and information science and specializes in symbolic AI. And where are you calling in from?
I am calling in from Sydney, Australia this evening.
Thank you for making the sacrifice. I know it's
Of
a
course.
bit of a time difference.
Thank you
Matt,
for accommodating me.
Maddie Whelan Solomon is a client solutions and services consultant at Graphify. She is a creative technologist specializing in symbolic AI, information architecture, and digital strategy. She has held executive roles in large multinational companies and has led business transformation programs from scratch. She is also a university lecturer and owner of a music shop. Maddie, where are you calling in from?
Calling in from London, England.
Sakshi Manga is a data scientist at EXL, and she has deep experience in different industries such as finance, insurance, and fraud detection. She has applied her knowledge to different applications of computer science, such as computer vision, natural language processing, deep learning, and conversational AI. Presently, she is focused on determining different types of fraud and teaching data science in her spare time. Sakshi, where are you calling in from?
From New Delhi, India.
And last but not least, Theodora Petkova. She is a content writer at Ontotext. She is a philologist fascinated by the metamorphosis of text on the web and the continuous evolution of the semantic web. She has focused her career on transmuting ideas into dialogic moments through well written thought enriched with semantic annotation. She is a published author and a university lecturer. Theodora, where are you calling in from?
Sofia, Bulgaria. And the weather is great today for our talk. It was super rainy and very bad. Now we are at the sunny side.
A good
Wonderful.
omen.
So with that, I invite the speakers to give a little bit of background and experience. I know I only gave the surface level label, and I know you have a lot more to share on your background.
Sure, I can start with that. So I've worked for companies on three continents now, doing a lot of different information and knowledge management, and I think it's been really fascinating. I know people say careers are made kind of in the rearview mirror. Seeing where I've kind of jumped from place to place and building on the skills that got me to where I am now, which is with Nearmap. So I've been doing a lot of semantic work, a lot of for data quality, and I'm really excited to be here to talk more about it.
Maddie, would you like to take the torch?
Sure. I don't know how much I can add to what you said, which was a very lovely introduction. Thank you very much. Um, I can say that through my career, I have mostly been the first person to hold that position because, no one knew what things like classifications, data analysis, for me, taxonomy. One of my first jobs was at the Walt Disney Company, and they decided to call me the corporate nomenclature taxonomist. Now, that job title really didn't last into other realms. Um, uh, but nonetheless, it's always been really interesting. And I'm sure that my colleagues also are probably the lone wolves in their organization who actually understand a corner of what we do today, and to bring its full function into the meaning of the organization. So I have a music shop in Camden called Dots, the Camden Music Shop. I'm also a musician of 5 instruments, and I play the banjo in an Americana band. So, we are all just the tip of an iceberg with an enormous amount of experience and interest hidden below our necks. Thanks.
Sakshi, would you like to go?
Yeah, sure. So, as like I work in a domain of data science, where my role includes to make the models by using the techniques like machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. So it's like we deal with multiple type of data in like different domains. For example, domains can be like healthcare domain, insurance domain, finance, or it can be anything. And then there are types of data, for example, text data, or you have images, like the data set of the images that we pass into a model, and then finally get the prediction that we want. And fraud detection is one of the major thing on which I have worked on. So it includes using like doing kind of programming in Python, using various libraries of it, and getting the expected results for which our customer demands. So I've been like, I have started my career almost 7 years back, with and like rapidly growing into this. This is something like this domain, AI specifically, has been growing really fast from last like few years, I can say, although it was existed since long. But the advancement in the hardware, and then like the GPUs and TPUs that we have, it really helped the organizations to make use of the data. And of course, we are living in a data driven age where lots of data has been created um, on social media, and all the organization wants to get benefited from the data that we people are creating. So I'm just a little part of it, which is helping the customers or the clients or my organization to get maximum benefit out of it. Yeah, and really like looking forward for this event to learn more from these wonderful people. So yeah.
Theodora?
Um, well, I have been a content writer forever, like for, I guess now, 10 years. And I have always been interested in that machine readable part of our content on the web. And it's been now 2 years that I'm living that interest in onto text, building a knowledge graph out of marketing content. If I am to say something grounded about myself, otherwise, I'm really, as you use the word fascinated in my bio, I'm fascinated by the way we can do more dialogues and achieve more cohesion on the web. And this is where I guess I need to touch to the AI topic. So I'm dipping my toe here with all of you with caution, because I'm from the other side. I'm coming from the other side where we don't have that many definitions about things and we're not that sure about knowledge.
Wonderful. I think that's excellent segue to the first question, and where we explore in the dark until you guys shine the light on it. What is that? What is meaning? Why? What is meaning, and why is it important?
I can kick that off. I look at meaning in sort of two aspects that make up, I think, meaning to me. The first is what something is. Its core distilled essence of an object or a concept. So the concept is really the meaning of a thing. But then there's the other piece, and that's the second area, which is what it does. And so that's the context of a thing. So to me, meaning is a combination of what something is and what it does. So to me, it's kind of a combination of the concept and the context.
Okay, I'll go next. I agree with you, but it's a big question. If we and I'm going to stay within the context of the function, because what is it that we need to do in order to put meaning into a machine so that the machine can understand what it is? And I think one of the most basic things that we do is to disambiguate homonyms. That's difficult enough for us humans to agree on it, but we need to sort of make that explicit to a machine who may not know the difference between, let's say, a ring, which is like a circular band of something made of something, or a ring, which is a sound. Now, they're both spelled the same way, but have two completely different meanings. And so I think part of what we're asked to do is to bring that kind of meaning to the machine so that we can bring intelligence to the machine.
Sakshi, would you like to?
Okay, yeah, definitely. So, if I talk about meaning, so I think the purpose of meaning lies in providing significance, direction, and fulfillment in our lives. It helps individuals to make sense of their experience, goals, and aspirations. And for example, so when if we talk about employees, so when employees find meaning in their work, they are more engaged, motivated, and committed to achieving the organizational objectives. And when it comes in the context of AI, or you can say machine learning, so then I believe meaning can be understood as the ability of AI systems to comprehend and interpret data, information, and instructions, we can say, in a way that aligns with the human understanding and the values. So meaningful AI systems not only perform tasks efficiently, but would also consider the broader implications and consequences of their actions on society, ethics, and morality. Yeah, so that is, I believe, the context of meaning.
Theodora?
I'm tempted to stay in the context of poiesis when it comes to meaning, but to again ground myself here. When you say meaning, and I think about the semantic web, I always think about that definition of ontology: shared, agreed upon meaning. So, in that sense, and speaking about function, that would be our, again, cohesion tool. How do we align? Like something that we co-orient ourselves towards. That's my one half. And my other half, the maverick, or whatever the word is, thinks about meaning as something that emerges and you can never catch in a graph. Although my DevOps colleagues will kill me here. However, you can catch some codified meanings and you can do like make explicit contexts where meaning may or may not emerge. However, again, in order to tame meaning, I prefer not to label it and leave a door for it to evolve and grow.
Yeah, interesting. So we've gotten a range of definitions that stem from this is something ethereal, something that you can't really grab onto because it's continuously evolving and being shaped according to the context and actors. And it impacts the way that we exchange ideas between people, as well as people to machine and machine to machine and machine to people, and all these other circular ways. So this leads me to ask, because we're here for a semi-grounded discussion on AI and applications of it in the world, and what it means to work with the very defined, concrete, dumb machines that execute on very explicit instructions. Why is it important to define meaning in the context of a business environment or an organization? And what is its relationship to a message?
Joaquin, when you say what is its relationship to a message? Are you just saying any message that it wants to, or?
Yeah, there's an environment, and
Mhm.
everybody, actors, whether they're organic or synthetic,
Mhm.
and they communicate with each other. They exchange via messages to transfer knowledge or transfer some sort of data or whatever label you want to put on it. But I'd be curious to hear what your perspectives are as to that composite idea.
Well, since I asked the question, I'll follow up on that, because I think what you say about messages, what you're really talking about is a conversation, isn't it? So that a message can be read or interpreted and then acted upon. And that's really the bedrock of algorithms, is to be able to say, this is what I think is happening. And it can be as something as simple as, like retail transaction is the easiest thing. The meaning of this shirt in that color, in this size, sent to this address and paid for by this credit card. Now, all of those are essential for the whole transaction. And I think you're right, to a certain extent, that's a conversation between a human and the machine. For me, it would be a screen at, a retail shop. And but those conversations can certainly get very interesting when we talk about conversational AI. And that is the first thing that came out of the door as we enter this new dawn of artificial intelligence. And so it's really interesting to see where conversational AI is going to be monetized in this world soon.
And from my perspective, it's really been the use cases around a sort of data quality and meeting management with relation to data elements. Saying, we have these data elements, and we need to document a clear description for both humans and machines, as you were saying, so that that message can be transferred to both a human brain and a computer model. That, again, also that meaning that everyone can align to, even though it's written in possibly completely different languages for both a human and machine to interpret.
Yeah. So, in my perspective, also messages would act as a way we share, like we share any kind of information or anything, like the way we are discussing now. And when I talk about messaging in the context of AI and machine learning, so I believe that it might relate to the clarity, relevance, and the accuracy of the information being communicated. um, AI systems often communicate with users through various interfaces, for example, voice assistants, chatbots, or automated messages. So, ensuring that the messages are meaningful involves understanding of the user's intent, context, and preferences. And also, they are delivering the responses that are clear, helpful, and aligned with the user's need. So, meaningful communication in AI helps to build trust, engagement, and satisfaction among users, ultimately, I think, contributing to the success and adoption of AI technologies in various applications and industries. So, for example, if I use some chatbot and the answers that chatbot gives me, you know, is something which I want to listen. So then, of course, I'll again go, with it to it again, maybe for whatever reason. It can be for anything, for, let's say, it can be if I want to buy something and I just put my needs, that let's suppose if I want to buy a music system, so I just put that all these things I want in a system, and then some chatbot recommends me that these are all the brands for which you can go for, and then I go and I buy it, and then I find it really, let's say, the something which I want. So of course I would build a trust on that system, on that AI application, and I'll ask my friends also to use that. So yeah, so that is something, the meaning, when the AI systems are understanding the context, the intent of the user.
Theodora?
Mm, well, when I'm thinking about meaning in a business context, I'm always thinking, how do we incorporate meaning in our messaging so that it is meaningful to the people who are reading? And speaking of AI, for example, in the onto-text knowledge graph, um, I'm seeing more and more now that we kind of hooked it to an LLM so that a user can create their content through the language. Um, Meaning in business context is critical for us to keep that continuum of interactions with our people, and not only with the people we want to engage with, but also with what I call internal stakeholders. Are we on the same page? And to again ground that in something very specific. What are we talking about when we're talking about graph rag? What's the definition of that? In which taxonomy it ends up? When are we tagging our content with graph rag? And we have these levels of aboutness. What an article means, it first has a first level of aboutness, then we have uh, other levels. And in that case, yes, meaning is somewhere in a controlled vocabulary, but it also should be ingrained in people's understanding of how we approach an article first, and then that idea that this article will end up as someone else's meaning. Yeah. And I'm sorry, just wanted to add something because it came to my mind when you were asking about meaning in business context. I'm always thinking about that theory of assemblages. And that is, you have a system and you have in codified stuff in it. However, that system is not the thing. It's an assemblage because it interacts with people, and then you have these dynamics where meaning is transferred, and then there are these feedback loops, etc. So again, in a business context, I think it's important for us to understand that systems are assemblages.
From the perspective of purchasing a pair of shoes, to getting an insurance policy, ensuring that a message is communicated between a person to a machine, to a machine to a person. Um, this word came up in your response to the previous one, trust. Trust is inherent in our engagement with machines. So, what is data quality and how does it relate to trust?
Well, I'll start. Because data quality, trust is a big word because it depends on what you're looking for. But when it comes to data quality, right, the AI or any sort of querying will rely on being able to trust the data to be able to ask that question. What's so interesting about AI right now is that with the use of large language models, which they've been using as their test data sets, it has exposed the enormous amount of velocity of data that's available to us, but also the volatility of that data. Because through AI and through the exposure of LMMs, we have discovered that data is often inaccurate, it's biased. Some of it is destructive and toxic. Some of it is just social engineering. It is, malware is everywhere. And then we all know that every now and then an AI application might begin to hallucinate in weird ways that nobody could have anticipated. And that has exposed the lack of data quality. That's a big, big problem. Now, I'm not saying that I or any of us are probably in a situation to be able to solve that AI problem, but we can certainly solve those problems within the confines of an organization. When you take a look at the data within the organization, is it biased? Chances are it is. Does it have antiquated language that is derogatory to some genders, say? I bet you it is, depending on how old your organization is. And so I think of the function of what we also need to do is to review our data and to make sure that we have data that is accurate for the culture of our time, and to sort of mirror what Theodora was saying, was to leave it enough room that that can be continually improved as our language gets more sophisticated, as our relationships with the machines get more sophisticated. The quality of our data will also change.
Having worked on an enterprise master data management system, I've had people tell me to my face that they don't care about the quality of the data in the system because they don't trust the system. So therefore, they have a very elaborate spreadsheet that's almost like a mini database that does what that one person needs. And so I think that really harkens back to the that element of data quality of is the data fit for purpose? And I think that's one of the biggest and most difficult questions to answer, especially in an enterprise setting, because you have so many different use cases for the data, and it may not be able to do all things for all people without some sort of transformation. So that's one of the challenges to implementing a data quality governance program.
Yeah. So to like add on what Anne and Mary said, I completely agree. So it's been said also, and I have also experienced this, that the almost 70% time of a data scientist would go into data cleansing. So and doing the feature engineering, and yes, it is like the most time consuming part, you can say. And a very simple example of it, let's suppose that you have a data of claims, right? Let's suppose something happened to me and I write my claim and send it to an insurance company. So then the way people write the text is completely different. They can add some kind of spelling mistakes in it. It could be there, or for example, machines. It's sometimes it's difficult for machines to understand sarcasm. On also, like, although in claims it cannot be, but in the text data, sarcasm sometimes can be present, and machines are not able to understand that. So that although technologies are there, as like LLMs and the attention mechanism and everything are working on this part as well, but yes, data quality is something which should be like the first thing when you are, it should be the first thing to focus on whenever we are making any AI based application. And I remember, like, when I was learning all this, so there was a person in my classroom who used to tease other students, right? And there was a meme actually. So then the teacher used to said, okay, so just don't make noise, otherwise I'll send you to the data cleansing class. Because that is the toughest job to do in the data,
As punishment.
yeah, correct, it's a punishment. So yes, definitely data quality plays a crucial role.
Floor is yours.
For me, the data quality is processes, guidelines, and what Anne said about the Excel sheet. It's like, look at this, a person within a company, we're all the time talking about breaking silos, etc. And that person is creating their own silo. And this came to mind. Data quality is about a sort of a culture of relating. How do you relate to other people and systems? And also, we should acknowledge that I recently talked to Bob Kazanchuk, and he said that he reminded me about how our systems are not able to absorb the meaning we want to add to our digital artifacts. So data quality is somehow, you know, impoverished, or what's the word, because of these systems. And even if we wanna have clean data, we still can't, because these systems are so unintertwined.
With with the with that in mind, I want to ask, how can we create a virtuous feedback system?
What do you mean? What's the meaning of a virtuous feedback system? Define.
How do you continuously align and direct and refine the combined dialogue between a person and a machine?
Mm, I'll just answer straight away, because I'm trying to do that, and of course, with no success. It's very difficult. But I'm at least in my content writing practice, and now I'm trying to do that company wide. Seed the seed of that. Have content cards and be able to weave poiesis, the creation of text, what you're thinking, what you're talking to other people, with very well established tags. It's so simple, and I'm so fascinated how it doesn't work. Why? And we're all the time creating metadata with our text. It's I think everything is so fragmented, became so fragmented, that the simple act of writing a text with the relevant words, because you know the person on the other side of the text, makes your text relevant, and the metadata in it are obvious. And then somewhere in the machine and the systems and corporation loops, all that gets mingled and minced.
So do you think a solution to that is to make more in meeting explicit?
Yeah, and to make people talk more with one and the same language, but not by top down, staying there and saying these are the taxonomies that we will use, but rather get together and say what is this? Why do we use it? How is it related to external vocabularies? What can we reuse? What are the new terms we can use? And this is an ongoing thing of collaboration and co-orientation. And I know that this is very hard to do.
So would you say it's like bringing in the concepts of a folksonomy into a business setting where people can just propose a relevant concept or tag?
Yeah, that would be, yes, of course, but that's like a step, at least where I am, we're at the level of let's first agree on the taxonomies. And then you have the level where now that we agreed, let's stick to them. Okay, but that system cannot be fed with this taxonomy. What are we going to do? Etc.
Anyone else? Maddie, Sakshi?
Okay, I'll add something. It takes it a little bit in a different direction because I appreciate the pragmatism that Theodore brings to the table of, we've been at this for a while. How come we still can't agree on a single definition, say, And that's true. I mean, I remember the stories of the Library of Congress spending 2 weeks deciding whether the USA acronym should be U, period, S, period, A, or US or USA, or I mean, weeks committee driven decision making. And you think it's impossible, isn't it? But I think when we talk about a human in the loop, right, is that virtuous circle. And that virtuous circle is that AI cannot gain intelligence without us in the loop. And I'm going to quote Megan O'Giblin from her really seminal book that, if you haven't read, is really worth delving into, called God, Human, Animal, Machine. And in it, she says that humans have a superiority complex and that we tend to downplay the capabilities of machines even as they become increasingly advanced and more human-like. And so she takes a look and examines anthropomorphism. We tend to think that anything that is intelligent in the way humans are intelligent. But actually, a machine is not a human, and they have their own intelligence. And so, this is why the human in the loop, I think, is important. I think, hopefully, if we do this right, artificial intelligence will make us better human beings, not better machines. And we, in turn, won't be able to help the machine become a better human, but we can help them become a better machine. So let's build a machine that's very good at computation, right? They can do that with more data in a split second and timing that we could never compete with. However, what we can do is bring a different kind of thinking to augment how the machine is learning and how it's gaining information and being able to do pattern recognition. And that's through being human. And that's through what Kenneth Kukier and Victor Meyer Schoenberg would call in their book Framers, is we as humans can apply a framework that's well thought out. Things that humans can do is that we can daydream. We can say, but if I don't go down this road and I go down this road, what might happen? We can also think in terms of, if I do this, where could it go wrong? Now, machines don't think that way at all. So that's the kind of intelligence I think humans can bring to the machine, and to create not only a virtuous loop, but one that's mutually enhancing.
Yeah. So, like, I agree. I think human intervention is always important, like whenever we are creating any AI build system. So, because I think machines are not able to, machines can take decisions, but either those decisions are ethically correct or not. That is, I think, one of the major concerns. So I hope we all are aware of the deep fake technology, correct? So it's like, suppose if I am sitting and speaking here with you, and then someone just do some kind of intervention with our videos, so then there would be no Sakshi. I mean, they just put someone else's face, and it was some another person. So that is something, and that happened with some of the celebrities as well. That was in the news. So yeah, I mean, of course, AI is like affecting our lives very much, but I think the human intervention should always be there, so that the machines are not like, and people should also be ethical, because it's like the persons who are just doing those changes by using the deepfake technology. It is not all the blame on the technology, but yeah. ethically, and also what you are doing by using the AI build systems must be in the favor of the society and not harming anybody.
It's hard to reach a consensus of one worldview when we share different geographies, different cultural heritage, different
Mm-hmm.
languages. If I were to ask you all, what would you typically have for breakfast? I'm sure we would all have a very different answer based on a composite of our life decisions and things that we have inherited. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't, at least try to grapple with this slippery challenge of trying to wrestle with a fragmented world. And I think, as Anne was saying, the beginning stages are people propose ideas and we break them apart and see what sticks and what doesn't and what can be refined. And it's not a perfect solution. It's not a static solution. It's something that requires a lot of
Mm-hmm.
dialogue with all the actors that are involved internally and externally. But this leads me to my next question. How do we enable AI at scale to solve real problems?
I have a kind of cheeky answer. Compute power. I think
Yeah.
without compute power, we wouldn't have the AI that we have today. But I'm happy to let other people go more into the details there.
I agree with Anne completely. My answer was electricity. It's about resources. Um, I mean, OpenAI spent over 100 million to train their first Chat GPT.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is it about electricity resources, it's the cost of those resources for businesses or anyone who feels like they can just pick up an AI and insert it into their business without an enormous amount of funding for hardware. Costs a lot of money. Electricity costs a lot of money. The skill sets for AI, there are people like us, other people who are engineers, AI engineers. They also cost a lot of money. So I think that if we could find a way to find um, different kinds of sources to run our computers, and we find a way to be able to diminish some of the cost of data processing, would enable AI to scale a lot faster than it is right now.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Anne and Mehdi. The first thing would be the scalable infrastructure. So, because deploying AI at a scale requires robust and scalable computing infrastructure, as like cloud-based platforms, GPUs, TPUs. So all these things are must. Secondly, algorithmic innovations, because continuously innovate and improving AI algorithms to address the real world challenges effectively. So, some research in the areas of deep learning, reinforcement learning, and another thing which comes in my mind would be like the domain expertise and problem understanding, because there are multiple domains. For example, if I am in the insurance domain, so I should understand everything about the data that comes from the insurance domain, or what are the rules of this domain. They can be different, like healthcare domain and finance, or sometimes it's customers data. So domain expertise also plays a major role. And then like one of the example which I want to give here is, I worked on one of the project where we have the data set of the images, and then we need to predict, like it was the brain MRI images of hundreds of thousands of people, and then we need to predict like which stage of Alzheimer like this particular person are. There are 6 stages of Alzheimer, I think, which are considered. So, I mean, the only data, of course, the technical knowledge is required to fulfill this task, to make this prediction with to get a prediction with the accuracy. But you should also know the domain knowledge about it as well. So, for example, which chemical increases in your brain, then you'll reach that particular stage. So that is something known as the feature engineering. like which features in your data are important and which are impacting your target variable. Whatever it could be, that was the one example I gave you. So domain expertise and the understanding of the problem, and then solving it by using the innovative AI algorithms, and then we need a scalable infrastructure, of course, on which all these things are trained on. And after that, of course, data availability, that is the first thing, right? Of data availability with the quality. I mean, we should, I think organizations need to invest in data collection, aggregation, and the curation process. And after that, it comes, I think, ethical and responsible AI, where, to prioritize the ethical development and deployment practices to mitigate the risks and ensure the trustworthiness. So, some considerations such as fairness, transparency, accountability, and privacy should be integrated into the design, development, and deployment of the AI systems. And of course, some ethical guidelines, regulatory frameworks, industry standards that can help, to guide responsible AI practices.
What Sakshi is saying, I'm hearing the web of data. And I thought I don't have an answer for how do we scale AI. But when Madi started and she said diminish the cost, and started with electricity, we can teach AI Sparkle. And there is a paper last year, I think Aidan Hogan shared it, research about how you can save a lot of power, money, and resources
Mhm.
with optimizing your queries. So yay, once for the semantic web. Second, Sakshi said domain expertise, data availability. We have that in the web of data. So maybe, it's not maybe, it is the bridge. However, let's see how that will play out. For me, that scale of AI would come from the answer Tim Berners-Lee gave to a question that wasn't yet asked back in the 90s when he introduced the web and its inherent semantics.
It's for everybody. Yeah.
Yes.
But can I pose a question to the group following up on this really interesting topic? Because on one hand, scale is that it's very expensive, but also we're talking about sharing knowledge and sharing information, not only across domains and industries, but with the world. And as we opened this session and we acknowledge that each one of us are from a different country, my question is this. There are some that say that the development of AI is going to rely on global participation and sharing. However, we're coming into a geopolitical culture that's actually nationalism is on the rise. So, on one hand, we have people protecting their data before they're opening their data and sharing it. But do you think that more data will make for better data?
Well, I think it is like it depends. More data never means better data. Of course, we need to look at the data quality. But when we talk about like the large language models that you were also mentioning, of course, like it's been trained on enormous amount of data. Like it's been trained on Wikipedia data, and like we cannot even imagine, the amount of data they have passed into their models by using, with by of course they uh, come up with some new mechanism as well. Like I was going through the LLM architecture, that how it was created, and it was like they are always been trained on GPUs only. Like you cannot train an LLM on a CPU. There is some kind of, I don't know, some library constraint or something is there. So yeah, large data, I mean, it's a very situational thing. I believe that if the data is good and it is enormous in amount, so then of course it can do wonders. Like you'll have the best model. But if the data is like ambiguous or having some kind of missing values in it, right? Or some kind of, let's say, when we deal with the data, there are many times some kind of difference in units as well. So, for example, that if I have a data which is just measuring our weight, right? So, for example, for me, it would be in kilograms. For you, it would be in pounds. For someone else, it would be in some other unit. So that
No.
really causes a discrepancy in a data. And that all comes under the data cleansing and data quality that we discussed before. But yeah, good data, and if it is good and enormous in size, gives you the better result. But again, biased data, bad data, the data which is not relevant to your target variable, of course, will makes your model. I think there's a term which is overfit. Overfitting. So overfitting is when your data is giving very good results on the training data. I mean the data that you passed it, but when you actually put that model into the production, then it starts giving the bad results on the test data. So that is a major problem.
Thanks.
If I may be playing devil's advocate here, I refuse to believe that electricity and brute force of computing power is the means to unlock AI at scale. What did people launch a rocket to the moon with? Calculators and pen and paper, and then jamming a bunch of long-winded scripts together. And we have more advanced technology in a phone than we did in the computing power that was available back then. So it's hard to
Well
be.
said. No, that's well said. Well said. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I think the other big thing is, and I'm really glad that Sakshi's on this call, really understanding what to do with that data. Just because you have it doesn't mean you can get the answer to your question.
Correct.
That was a big fad with the big data wave, right? Everybody said data is the new oil.
Give me all the data. Give it all to me and I'll figure something out. But yeah, you really, I think Sakshi can probably speak to this better than I can, but really framing that problem question really well and understanding what elements you need to actually solve for what you're trying. I mean, it's like just doing a research study, I would think. You know, you come up with that problem question, your hypothesis, and then what elements do you need to solve or prove it or disprove it.
So what kind of interdisciplinary work is required to accomplish, the adoption of AI? I think you guys have mentioned knowledge of computer science, knowledge of different techniques, knowledge about the limitations of the hardware and the software and the techniques, and money. What about computer data literacy? What are all these different elements that are required to enable us to take the next step?
I think you have to ask, what are you trying to solve, and start there. Because if you are saying what I want to solve is world AI adoption, it's like, well, okay, Joaquin, good on you. But I don't think that we could solve that. AI adoption. What's that problem? We need to adopt more AI. I don't know. AI is already being included in business practices, and I think it's already been like chatbots. I think Shakshi talked about. We could use it for fraud alerts, for recommendations. All of those, image recognition, sound recognition. All of those are parts of AI, and now we have images that can be manufactured artificially, and yet our regulatory and our laws have not caught up yet. Copyright doesn't know what to do with mid-journey images. On one hand, they say, well, no, there's no AI generated images have no copyright. Well, then you ask the prompter, who said it took me 200 prompts to get that one image that won that photography award. The AI didn't make those prompts and didn't make those corrections and didn't say add the color blue in that corner because it'll make it look great. The prompter did. And so I think those are also legal questions as to what is this new place? Who will AI actually be copyrightable?
Yeah, um, I I think it is, um, and that's why I believe that it would be like creating some kind of or establishing the collaboratory platforms. So the platforms which bring together experts from different disciplines to exchange ideas, and collaborate on policy development
Mm.
and some kind of educational initiative. So that might be, so that is what comes like with the domain knowledge or the domain understanding, or like availability of some kind of experts whenever we are creating like any kind of AI build system. So it's like, for example, the example that Maddie gives, like it's an image, and the prompter will only tell what to add in an image to make it a better. But I think that AI, maybe as of right now we don't have anything, or maybe it is available. Like I don't know any AI system, but it would be like in future that your then AI will tell you like what changes you can make in this image so that it would look better. So I was like going through one case study where it was a AI built system where you just need to stand up, and then it will tell you like which dress best suits on you, on your body type or on your complexion. And you can just choose among the dresses, and then the AI system will select, okay, this one looks best fit for you, this is something. So I think that that could also be achievable with the pace, like that
So,
we're making
Sachi,
changes.
do you trust their opinion? Is it a they? Is an AI they? A them? Do you trust that opinion?
So sometimes it is. I mean, sometimes the dress the AI choose for you might look good that you choose for yourself, because maybe as a person I don't have that much. Let's say I don't have that much fashion sense what I would wear for this occasion. But that could become intelligent by let's suppose the AI would ask some questions to me, that where I am going. Let's say if I'm going to some party, I would add some detail. It's a night party, or let's say it's just a date with my husband. Where I'm
Yeah,
going, in
yeah.
which part of the world. So then it can just suggest me a better dress. So that is something, the features that I would give to my AI, and then it would predict based on it. I don't know either I have answered your question or not, but this is just like something that comes up in my mind.
Well, I think what you're saying is pretty much is how do we enable AI to scale is to start solving small problems first, right? Don't
Correct.
don't think that we're
Yeah.
going to solve an AI problem. It's like, what problem do you need to solve? I hate to go shopping. I don't want to go shopping, but I want to look nice for this event. Well, there you go. There, AI can solve that problem for you seamlessly. It might be wrong, it might be off, but it's still better than going shopping, say, right? Anything is better
Yes.
than that. And the small things that you can use to be able to train, like the image recognition, to be able to say,
Mhm.
more like this, less like that. And then it can begin to learn and eliminate, less like that, and start to build on what it is that that individual human is having a conversation with.
Yes, and I think that humans are very, I mean, diversity is something that exists in this world a lot. Like, suppose if there are 100 billion people, everybody has their own choices. So, of course, it would be, I think, difficult, or maybe it would take some time, like some years, for that kind of AI system to build upon. Because let's say I have different preference. We both are going to a same place, but we both have different preferences. I don't want to
Yeah.
wear something which, let's say, you want, or you don't want to wear something which I want. So that also depends on human behavior, or human,
Preferences.
sometimes the resources. Yeah, preferences is the correct word.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Speaking of interdisciplinary, now that you mentioned that, I'm all the time thinking about the movie Her,
Oh, yeah.
where that person in the AI driven world was his job was to write human letters. And I didn't want to be that rhetorical on that one, but in terms of disciplinary, and I told you that in our previous conversation, I believe the interdisciplinary would come from that understanding that AI is not something AI. It's, as Madi said, some solutions to practical problems. It has different flavors, it has different approaches, different developers work on that. And when we speak about AI, we're kind of creating a creature AI. Is it dumb? No, it's not. And if we continue to reinforce that AI thing, the interdisciplinary bridges will be burned.
Mhm.
Yeah. By the way, I have something, but it will become too rhetorical for me to read. But now that I introduced it, I will read it. I very much like Luciano Floridi's work. He's working at the intersection of AI and philosophy, and of course, a lot more. But his recent paper is about how AI and cognitive science
Mhm.
languages crosswire. And he dig that. I didn't know that McCarthy himself said that artificial intelligence was a marketing term he invented. He's saying, excuse me, I invented the term artificial intelligence. I invented it because we had to do something when we were trying to get money for a summer study in 1956. How cool and
Why didn't we think
interdisciplinary.
of that?
Yeah. So this is where I want us to go, where everybody smiles and understand that we are in some kind of a self-delusion when we think how we can bridge AI to human understanding. That's not the task. The task is how to continue to be human with that AI mediated communication.
Here, here.
We're drawing near towards the end of this, but I've had a lovely time listening and learning from all these different perspectives. Bringing it away from the creatures of what AI is in the marketing world, uh, I'd love to understand your perspectives since you've developed your own career, you've carved your own path. Um, any advice on balancing personal and professional interest? Um, and just to add a sprinkle to that, is there anything you'd like to give to somebody that's following in your footsteps?
I'll start. Since moving to Australia, I've found that boundaries are very important because I'm on lunch tonight for you, but the first year I was here, I would do a lot of try to do a lot of US based just webinars just as an attendee for my own knowledge. And after a couple of red eye webinars, you're like, I need something more sustainable and more local. So it really pushed me to look for local meetups and things in my own neighborhood in the Sydney area. And so I've been able to interact with groups a little more diverse because there aren't really many semantics-based groups. There's a graph community and there's a data engineering community. And so I've been able to work with them. So that's been really beneficial, I think. But yeah, and that's kind of the answer of also like personal and professional, like that, just that, I know balance is kind of a word that no one likes to use, but understanding those boundaries of what you're willing to do and not to do and taking time off. And then for anyone starting this path, I think a lot of us, we're kind of lone wolves, as Maddie said earlier, and we've really had to kind of forge our own trail. And so I think that some of those things are, really being comfortable with ambiguity, being really confident in what you bring to the table, but also knowing that what gets you in the door won't necessarily keep you there. So you need to definitely keep evolving your skills, as well as understanding that even finding a job like this is like a needle in a haystack. And so the terminology that or you learn in school or through your coursework or education might not be the terminology you see in the job description. And also you might have to build up several roles before you're actually doing, like if you really want to be an ontologist, there are lots of other roles like information management roles you might have to do to build up that knowledge set to be ready to be like a full-time ontologist. And so it's a really, it's almost like choose your own adventure. You get to kind of build your path. And I think it's really exciting now because, selfishly, I get really excited. I think Theodora mentioned it. And then I know I was at a Neo4j Summit a few weeks back, and every talk that customers gave had ontology as a foundational part of an architecture for an overall graph solution. And so seeing that, like raising from the bowels of architecture, like actually seeing it on slides, I think that it's great. And will that translate into more roles for this specific skill set? I don't know. So forge your own path, be open to ambiguity, and go forth.
Well said. I can't top that. I think that's great, Anne.
Yes.
Anyone else to?
Yeah, so for me, it's like, as Anne mentioned, setting up the clear boundaries and also then prioritizing the tasks, like which one among your personal and professional life, and then go ahead with the most crucial one first. And after that, one of the skill which I think women lack, I don't know, but I believe learn to say no. Like, don't overcommit yourself with either the professional tasks or the personal tasks. If you can't do it, so just say that, just simply say no. And then the someone who wants to be on this, like who want to be a data scientist, so I must say that first learn the basics, with by all your heart. Because what happens, like what I also am, as like I am the one who really likes to teach data science in my spare time. So the people, the students who are just graduating and are in their high schools, they are interested in AI, but they are just directly jumping into, for example, LLMs, like how LLMs are designed, although they don't know the basics of NLP. So my advice to them is, start from the basics, just learn about the terms, and then just follow the buzzwords or the trend which is going on. So that's all.
Maddie, Theodora, any quotes, quips, sparks of inspiration?
Yeah, I have one. Hone your awkward thinking.
Maddie, last chance.
No, I think that's great. I'm not one of these people who compartmentalized my life. I didn't have my work persona and then my marriage persona and my mother persona. I thought, nah, I'm just going to be one ambiguous, screwed up person, and I'm going to be consistent in my screwing up across all of them. Right. So I just am who I am. depending on the context. And maybe that's what makes me a good ontologist.
Well, I've had a very I've had a joyous time just being able to share 90 minutes of discussion with you all. And yeah, I think anybody that listens to this conversation will be that much richer from being able to see all these fragmented viewpoints that somehow point into the same unified idea, the same concept. And yeah, I thank you all for taking the time to prepare and attend this panel discussion. And yeah, I wish you all the best.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
for a wonderful hour. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye, everybody.